Hello, everybody. This is the Catholic Esquire. Apologize, I've been a little slow on producing videos lately. I'm working on another project that I'm hoping to announce here in the next couple weeks, and it should be a little bit different than what we're doing here, but at the same time very relevant to the church and the world around us. Which leads me to this video I'm going to make today because what we need to talk about is how modernism and this development of what so many people either call the anti-church or the ape of the church or the pseudo church, whatever you want to call it, whatever it is that's grown up out of the Second Vatican Council that calls itself the institutional Catholic Church, whatever that entity is, and there clearly is a connection to apostolic Catholicism because we wouldn't even be having this conversation as there wasn't, and it makes it confusing for people. I understand that. But what we need to talk about is how this anti-church is not just an academic discussion, not something that, oh, hey, let's go sit around and talk about it over a beer and have some good laughs or whatever, and because it doesn't mean anything. It means a lot. It means a lot to the salvation of souls. It means a lot to our society. And if you haven't noticed, if you live in the United States of America, pretty much everyone agrees, regardless of even what religion you say you are, pretty much agrees we're in trouble. There is something majorly going on around. There's this impending sense of doom coming. Everyone's just assuming at some point the society and civilization is going to collapse as we know it within the next year or couple of years. And of course, fueling all of this is presidential elections and presidential election politics. Now, this is all what I'm trying to tell you today, and the case I'm going to make is everything we talk about with modernism, with corruption in the church, with crisis in the church, with perversion in the church, all of those things are directly related to the wider world, the wider secular world, the world we live in outside of the church. Okay? And it's this anti-church because it's not the real Catholic Church and hasn't been teaching what the real Catholic Church teaches and hasn't been going out into the public square and defending the rights of our Lord Jesus Christ, that the rest of this stuff is happening. Now, I want to point your attention to an article it was printed in the National Catholic Reporter. It's very liberal rag. I don't recommend ever reading it. I just happened to come across it randomly, but I thought it was very interesting because they did interview several young people that consider themselves Catholic, and the point of the article was to explain to people that young people, and they say they're young Catholics, are really not interested in these conservative social issues, like the Moloch ritual or LGBTQ ABC rights or disordered marriage. Nothing like that. See, what they say is, oh, well, we don't really care about that. Those issues don't matter to us. Those mean old Republicans, they're too focused on that. And that's why we really like what this Kamala Harris is bringing to the table and why we're going to vote for Kamala Harris. And the whole point of the article was to show how rigid and backwards these conservative type people that actually care about Moloch ritual, disordered marriage, alphabet community, terrorism, all of these things come together in this article. And so I'm going to put a link to the article in the description to this video. Now, before we go any further, I'm going to make this very clear. I am not promoting or suggesting the Republican Party is going to be the answer to the world's problems right now. In fact, quite the opposite. I actually blame the Republican Party for much of what we're seeing now because they are, in theory, the party that should be standing up to this. And if you've been following the news lately, they've pretty much abandoned any any notion of being promoting good social Christian values, let alone Catholic values. Morality. They've just completely abandoned that. They've taken out of the platform The presidential candidate, Trump, says it's not a big deal to him anymore. And so they've abandoned that issue, which is not surprising because most of the higher ups in the Republican Party never liked those issues anyway. Point being is that there really is no difference between the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. So I don't want you to think that I'm trying to say that there is, because there's not. Much more to be said on that. But back to this article, I just want to read a few quotes to you from the article. Again, I'll post the link to the article in the description of this video. The title of the article is Young Catholics Say Social Issues Give Dems the Edge in Presidential Race. Of course. Now, one of the uh, quotes here was from someone named Harry Glynn. It says he graduated a year ago from Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska. Not surprising at all if you've been to the campus on Creighton University. They're a Jesuit Catholic college, and I'll give you a short story. I'm sorry to go off on this little tangent, but short story. My son was actually thinking about attending Creighton. We did a school tour there. And on Creighton, because Jesuits used to be good, they used to be Catholic, and so they actually have a very large church on campus. It's actually quite beautiful. It was built, I think, in the 1800s. It was very nice, and the tour guide, who was a current student there, stopped at the church, uh, assumed that we didn't even want to go in the church. She says, "Oh, there's the church." I said, "Oh, can I go in and look at that?" Oh, okay. She was a little annoyed. Okay, we'll go look in the church. So we go in the front door. I signed myself with some holy water that was there. And I said, "Wow, this is a really beautiful building." And I started to talk to her about, "Well, that's so wonderful. You have this treasure on this campus, this beautiful building, And she just was very embarrassed by it. She says, "Oh, well, we don't. Most of the students don't actually go to church here, so I don't want you to worry about that." The whole point was this student couldn't pick up on the fact that I thought it was a good thing that they actually had a Catholic church on a Catholic school campus, and she was very embarrassed by it. And she thought that we were looking for her to say, "Oh, well, don't worry, we don't actually believe any of that bull crap." I mean, that's what she was thinking. She didn't quite say it that way, but that's essentially what she said. And uh, it was not surprising, but still shocking. Anyway, that's my experience with Creighton. All right, back to the article. So this man from Creighton says, Catholicism is not a box to be checked. That's not as important as the way that you're living. Now, see, this is very modernist, right? See, when they say Catholicism is not a box to be checked, that means, well, you don't actually have to believe the faith part, that God stuff. No, it's what you do. So, what really matters, just like the heretical Jansenists believe, and that Bergoglio is taught in official documents quite recently. I can't remember which one it was. But they believe that what you do in life really is all that matters when it comes to your relationship with God. So if you go down to the soup kitchen, regardless of what you actually believe or your morality, that's what just matters. You help the guy at a soup kitchen, you're going to heaven. That's that social justice uh, heresy, because there is such thing as justice. There actually is such thing as social justice, but not the way they think it is. Anyway, point being, that's very common. You're going to hear this was quoted in the article. Another article that was interesting was from a Jesuit. This was from Father Martin Nago, and he says, quote, "They want someone," and he's talking about the young people, "they want someone who is a bridge builder, who is empowering of young people and very cognizant of women's issues and inclusive of LGBT people," quote. Now, there's several problems with the quote itself, of course. Obviously, the bridge builder is a reference to James Martin's book. He literally wrote a book called that. And of course, he has to mention women, right? Because modernists and heretics and the people who've gotten control of the church don't understand how women and men are different and don't understand the differences in roles. That's why they're pushing women to become leaders and to become dominant over men. and very weak, effeminate men promote these things, and typically that's what Jesuits are. And of course, inclusive of LGBT people. What he's trying to say here is that there is such thing as a category of LGBT people, not that there's a disorder in behavior of a certain group of people. Anyway, point being, my friends, is this is what the liberal modernist Catholic world is talking about and thinking about, and they're publishing a lot of articles about it. Now, I know what you're saying, and there's a lot of smart people who listen to this channel. Well, these are just off the fringe leftist people. I mean, they're always going to say that. They're not, of course, they don't, their views don't really align with real Catholicism. We know better. We know better in the conservative Novus Ordo world here, where, we don't really get into all that tradition and stuff like that. But we follow JP2 and he taught, and that's very conservatism and Catholic. But I have to warn you, my friends. I have to warn you about that line of thinking as well. It just unfortunately is not true, because modernism has seeped into conservative Catholic culture as well. Just to give you an example, that's why you see these all this talk and promotion about religious liberty, even in some of your most conservative Catholic parishes. And I know because I've seen it in a parish I would consider conservative. They talk about the importance of religious liberty, and just setting aside all of the baggage that goes with that concept and that term and the history that goes back to the French Revolution and all the teachings of the popes in the 19th century that warned us against religious liberty. All of that's put aside, and just kind of shuffle that over because they think it's conservative. Or the conservative Catholics who are very much supportive of the Declaration of Independence and the founding fathers of this country, not having a clue that the Declaration of Independence is an extremely anti-Catholic document. And this nature's God that the Declaration of Independence swears its allegiance to and says its authority comes from is not a Christian God. It's not a Trinitarian God. It's a Freemasonic, deistic demon God. Now, I have a lot to talk about on those issues, and this is going to be relevant to my new project coming out that I hope to discuss in a couple weeks. So keep staying tuned here, my friends. So, in summary, what I'm trying to tell you is that the answer to these problems is not modernism, it's not conservative Catholicism, it's tradition. It's staying connected to our Lord Jesus Christ and defending his social kingship. And that again is the social kingship of Christ is something that, unfortunately, in the post-Vatican world, those who claim to be the church that are running the anti-church have completely rejected. And this is why we're seeing what we're seeing. We don't have the philosophical or the theological or even the common sense foundation necessary to save this American continent, let alone the United States of America. Unfortunately, as traditionalists, we are outnumbered. We're not going to have a traditional Catholic win a presidency right now. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. So we need to sit down and rethink our strategy on what to do here. But we always have to remember that it's the social kingship of Christ that matters. Much more to come on these things, I'm hoping soon, my friends. Stay tuned. Until then, pray for the church, pray for the conversion of America, and God bless.